She fell for her best friend's single dad brother. And it changed everything. The rain started quietly. She wasn't looking for anything. Then she saw him, with his daughter. And everything changed. It wasn't the kind of rain that demanded attention. No thunder. No warning. Just a soft, steady fall that turned the streets silver and made everything feel slower than it really was. The kind of rain you barely noticed until you were already in it. June Harper stood by her window for a moment longer than necessary, watching droplets gather and slide down the glass, merging, separating, disappearing. She told herself she should leave. She had somewhere to be. A simple visit. Nothing important. She grabbed her coat anyway. There was nothing unusual about the evening. That was the thing. No sense of anticipation. No instinct that something was about to shift. She wasn't searching for connection or change or anything that required effort. She was just moving through her life the way she always did, quietly, carefully, one small decision at a time. The bus ride was uneventful. A few scattered conversations. The hum of the engine. The blurred glow of streetlights stretching across rain-soaked windows. June kept her gaze outside, letting the city pass without really seeing it. Her thoughts didn't settle on anything in particular. Work. Rent. What she might eat later. Ordinary things. Safe things. When she arrived, the house felt the same as it always had. Warm. Lived in. Soft light spilling through the windows and onto the porch. Nothing about it suggested that this night would be any different from the dozens before it. She knocked. Waited. Listened to the rain behind her. The door opened. And for a while, everything stayed exactly as expected. Until it didn't. She heard it before she saw him, a small voice, light and insistent, drifting from somewhere deeper inside the house. A child. Followed by another voice, lower, quieter. Steady in a way that made her pause without understanding why. Not loud. Not commanding. Just, present. June stepped inside. And then she saw him. Not standing. Not speaking. Not trying to be noticed. Just crouched on the floor beside a little girl, holding out a crayon like it mattered more than anything else in the room. And something in her chest shifted. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But enough that nothing felt the same after. June didn't move right away. She stayed near the doorway, half inside, half out, as if stepping fully into the moment required a decision she hadn't made yet. The room carried a quiet rhythm, soft voices, the faint scratch of crayon on paper, the low hum of rain pressing gently against the windows. Nothing urgent. Nothing demanding attention. And yet, her attention had already settled. Theo Walker didn't look up immediately. He stayed where he was, crouched at the girl's level, his movements unhurried, deliberate. He adjusted the paper slightly. Nudged a color closer. Waited. The kind of patience that didn't feel practiced. The kind that came from repetition. From knowing this moment mattered, even if no one else was watching. The girl, Poppy, took the crayon from his hand without hesitation. Like she trusted it would be there. Like she trusted him. That was the thing June noticed. Not him. Not at first. But the space around him. The steadiness of it. The way everything seemed to settle when he was near her. June told herself it was nothing. Just a moment. A small, ordinary scene that didn't mean more than it should. People notice things all the time. It didn't have to matter. She stepped further into the room, letting the door close softly behind her, letting the warmth replace the rain still clinging to her coat. Hazel's voice filled the space easily, familiar and bright, pulling June into conversation. Something about work. Something about traffic. June answered where she needed to, nodded where it made sense. She was present. She sounded present. But her attention kept drifting. Not in an obvious way. Not enough for anyone to call it out. Just small glances. Quick, unintentional. The kind you don't plan. The kind you don't admit. Theo had stood by then. Moved to the counter. Quiet again. Like he hadn't done anything worth noticing. Poppy stayed on the floor, coloring with complete focus, occasionally saying something to him without looking up. And every time she did, he answered. Short. Simple. Enough. June noticed that too. Not the words. The consistency. She looked away. Then back again, just for a second. That was the problem. She wasn't trying to pay attention. She just was. June told herself to stop. It wasn't complicated. It shouldn't be. This was Hazel's house. Hazel's family. A normal evening that didn't need meaning added to it. She reached for her phone, glanced at the screen without reading anything, just to give her hands something to do. He's older, she thought. That was obvious. He has a child. Also obvious. He's not someone you think about. She set her phone down. Across the room, Theo leaned against the counter, arms loosely folded, watching Poppy color like there was nowhere else he needed to be. No urgency. No distraction. Just, there. June felt something tighten in her chest. Subtle. Annoying. She looked at Hazel, forced herself back into the conversation, caught the last half of a sentence and responded just enough to keep it moving. Normal. She could do normal. This doesn't mean anything. She repeated it once. Then again. But her mind didn't listen. Because every time Poppy spoke, he answered. Every time she shifted, he noticed. Small things. Quiet things. The kind you only saw if you were paying attention. And June wasn't supposed to be paying attention. That was the problem. She knew exactly what this was. And she knew she should walk away from it before it became something else. Hazel said it lightly. Like it wasn't important. Like it didn't carry weight. He's just in town for a bit, she added, pouring something into a glass, not looking directly at June. Helping with a few things. June nodded. That made sense. It sounded simple enough. Temporary. Contained. But something about the way Hazel said it felt, edited. June leaned back slightly against the counter, arms loosely folded. He doesn't live here? No, a small pause. Then, other side of the city. Another pause. June didn't ask anything else. She didn't need to. The silence filled in more than words would have. It wasn't just distance. It was history. The kind people didn't unpack casually in kitchens. Across the room, Theo crouched again beside Poppy, fixing something on the page she had smudged. His hand moved carefully, steady, like he'd done this 100 times before. Things have been complicated, Hazel added, quieter now. For a while. June nodded again. Complicated. That word covered a lot. She looked at him, just for a second longer than she should have. He didn't seem complicated. He seemed contained. And somehow, that felt heavier. It happened without planning. One moment the room was steady, predictable, moving at its quiet pace, and the next, it shifted. Poppy's voice changed. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just thinner. Uncertain. June looked up before she realized she had. The crayon had slipped from Poppy's hand, rolling slightly across the floor. She pressed her palm to her forehead, her small face tightening in a way that didn't belong to frustration anymore. Theo was already moving. He crossed the space in 2 steps, crouching in front of her, his hand coming up to rest lightly against her temple. No panic. No rush. Just focus. His brows pulled together slightly, eyes scanning her face like he was reading something only he understood. "She's warm," he said, more to himself than anyone else. June was already beside them. "I can get something," she said, the words leaving her before she thought them through. He glanced at her then. Just a quick look. Measuring. Not rejecting. Then he nodded once. That was all it took. June moved toward the kitchen, opening cabinets she didn't fully know, searching anyway. When she came back, he was still there. Same position. Same steadiness. Poppy leaned into him without hesitation. And for some reason, June felt it. Like the room had narrowed. Like this moment mattered more than it should. Hazel saw it. Not immediately. Not in the way people notice something obvious. It was slower than that. Built from small things. Glances that lasted a second too long. Silences that felt different. The way June didn't quite leave when she usually would. She waited until the moment passed. Until Poppy was resting, the room quieter again, the tension folded neatly back into something manageable. Then she found June in the kitchen. "You should be careful." She said it softly. No accusation. No edge. Just, clear. June didn't turn right away. She kept her hands on the counter, eyes on nothing in particular. "About what?" Hazel let out a small breath. "You know what?" A pause. June did know. "He's not," Hazel hesitated, choosing her words more carefully now. "He's not in a place where things are simple." June nodded once. Slow. "I'm not trying to make anything complicated," she said. "I know," Hazel replied. "That's what I'm worried about." The words settled between them. Across the house, Theo's voice was low, steady, saying something to Poppy June couldn't quite hear. June closed her eyes for a second. That was the problem. Nothing about this felt like something she had control over anymore. The house felt different after that. Quieter. Not in sound, but in the way everything seemed to hold itself back. Conversation stayed on the surface. Movements were smaller, more careful. Like something had been acknowledged without being fully said. June stayed a little longer than she needed to. She told herself it was because of Poppy. Because it felt wrong to leave too soon. Because it was polite. But that wasn't it. Theo was in the living room, sitting on the edge of the couch, Poppy curled against him, half asleep. One of his hands rested lightly on her back, moving in slow, absent circles. Not to soothe her, she was already calm, but because stopping didn't seem like an option. June stood near the doorway for a moment before speaking. "Is she okay?" His eyes lifted to hers. "Yeah. Just tired." A pause. She nodded, but didn't move. "I didn't mean to," she started, then stopped. He watched her. Waiting, but not pushing. June exhaled quietly. "I just wanted to help." Another pause. "I know," he said. Simple. No weight added. No assumptions. But something in the way he said it, steady, certain, made it harder to leave. Like the moment had settled into something real. And neither of them was pretending it hadn't. The next time she came back, she told herself it was accidental. That she was in the area. That it made sense to stop by. That it didn't mean anything more than it used to. It wasn't true. June stood outside for a second before knocking, rain tapping softly against her coat again, like the night had circled back to where it started. Same house. Same quiet light behind the windows. Not the same feeling. Hazel opened the door, surprised, but not entirely. There was a look there. Quick. Knowing. Gone just as fast. "Hey," she said. "Hey." June stepped inside. Theo was in the backyard this time. Through the window, she could see him crouched near the fence, tools laid out beside him, movement steady and deliberate. Poppy sat a few steps away, talking as she played, her voice carrying faintly through the glass. June paused. Watched. He didn't look up. Not right away. He was focused on what he was fixing, like the rest of the world could wait. And maybe it could. But something in her didn't want to wait anymore. Not for clarity. Not for permission. Just for the moment he would finally look up, and see her standing there. He noticed her before she expected him to. Not immediately, but not late either. Just enough time for the moment to feel real. Theo straightened slightly, one hand still resting against the fence, the other holding a tool he hadn't put down yet. His eyes met hers through the glass. No surprise. No confusion. Just recognition. June didn't move. Neither did he. Poppy's voice filled the space between them, light and constant, unaware of the quiet shift happening just a few feet away. She said something, pointed at nothing in particular, and he nodded without looking away from June. That was the thing. He didn't look away. Not this time. June stepped outside. The air was cool, damp with rain, carrying that soft stillness that made everything feel suspended. She stopped a few steps from him, close enough to speak, but not close enough to assume anything. "I didn't plan this," she said. Her voice was steady. Honest. He nodded once. "I figured." A pause. Not uncomfortable. Just, open. "I just didn't want to pretend I wasn't going to come back," she added. Another pause. Theo set the tool down. Slowly. Like it mattered. Then he looked at her again, fully, this time. And something shifted. Not loud. Not dramatic. But enough. Enough that neither of them stepped away. If this story stayed with you, tap the like button, subscribe so you don't miss what comes next, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from.